Hi, I'm Laura, and this is Davin. She'll be 6 weeks tomorrow. She was born October 25th.
My name is Allison Haberstroh, and this is Ezra.
My name is Renee Burns, and her name is Ryan Mackenzie Burns.
My name's Gail Double, and this is my husband Matthew, and this is Delilah Double. And she was born on August 22nd this year, 2009.
I'm Amanda Green.
I'm Wayne Green.
And this is Anella Green. She was born August 20th. I had a natural birth, completely drug-free, 5 hours from start to finish. And it was the most amazing, empowering experience of my life.
My name is Katie Winter, and this is Lila Dunn, and she's 10 weeks old, and Dr. Biter delivered her on September 28th, 2009.
I'm Erin, and this is my husband Jameis, and these are our two kids. We met Dr. Biter when I was pregnant with Auden.
My name is Marissa Palmquist, and this is Leaf Palmquist.
My name is Valerie, and I'm what's called a birth doula. And a doula doesn't do anything medically with the birth, but we support women through their birth experience. And I started going to births with Dr. Biter in 2007.
My first pregnancy, I ended up having a miscarriage at 14 weeks, and I had planned a home birth with that pregnancy, so I didn't have an OB. And the midwives I was working with at the time had recommended Dr. Biter.
We first met Dr. Biter in January last year, and had a great experience with him prenatally, and then during delivery he was great. He was there for my entire time at the hospital and was there when she came out.
My labor was so fast, they told the doctor on call that he might have to deliver, and I remember saying, "He's not delivering my baby, I am waiting for Dr. Biter."
Yeah.
And the nurse laughed, and I said, "No, I am waiting for Dr. Biter." And he showed up less than 7 minutes later, and he showed up with a cup of apple juice, and he had me start pushing, and I still remember in the middle of pushing, he asked the nurse for his apple juice, and I said, "Apple juice?" And he said, "Yes, do you want some?" And I said, "No, I want my baby."
I definitely was very educated about my choices. I'm actually a labor and delivery nurse, and I did a lot of research in choosing my provider, and got in touch with Dr. Biter through a midwife friend of mine. So she told me to go see him and check him out and see if his style matched mine, and they did. So we went with him.
Well, I was trying to find a doctor that was into some type of fertility. Like I said, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to just conceive. You know, I was 40 years old, and now I'm 41, and I wasn't sure, you know, where we were in this time frame.
When we met him, we went into the office and he put us in this really nice room. And we'd had experience with doctors before where, you know, they check you out and they do the, you know, whatever, but he comes in and he gives us both a hug. I mean, a doctor that hugs you, I mean, that was kind of odd for sure, but he's just like a friend that's there to help you out.
I can't say anything but good things about him. He is a genius. Like, he's brilliant because he is allowing this birth movement to become about women, which is what it's about. And it should be about women and empowering them, and he does that really well.
I actually interviewed probably like 5 or 6 different OBs in the area, La Jolla, everywhere, and I was just searching for somebody like him that would kind of let me do a more natural approach, and I finally found him a couple months into, probably about 4 or 5 months into the pregnancy, so it was good find.
The big difference that I notice with Dr. Biter is that he really listens to his patients, and he makes people feel heard, and he really goes in and tries to accomplish the birth that a woman is hoping to accomplish.
I really enjoyed having Dr. Biter as my doctor. I know I was absolutely terrified when I found out that I was pregnant and didn't know what the birth was going to be like, and he was someone that could put my mind at ease. He listened to us with our birth plan and the wishes that we had, and we went, our water broke, and then we went to the hospital and met him, and he came in, and everything was just so wonderful, even though it took longer than probably a lot of other places would have allowed us to go. He allowed us to continue on naturally, and then we ended up having her just in time for Father's Day, and it was an amazing birth. She wanted to come out early, and she did, and Dr. Biter, when it was time, he just literally hopped up on the end of the bed and said, "Okay, let's have a baby," and then a couple of minutes later she was there, and I couldn't believe it. It was really just amazing. Anyone is lucky to have them.
Natural vaginal birth, and that it was exactly what I wanted. Dr. Biter was there from the day I checked in on a Saturday morning, and it was still really early, so he was very kind and said I'm welcome to stay, but offered some suggestions. We ended up going home, laboring at home for another about 24 hours and then coming back. And Dr. Biter was there from the time we got back on that Saturday morning till I delivered, oh no, it was Sunday morning till I delivered on Monday at 1 a.m.
Our labor plan is pretty open-ended right now. We want to go into it with the idea of doing it naturally, but we know that other things can happen, and so we're kind of going to go along with the flow.
Yep, we're open to however she's feeling, and however she wants to do things. I'm willing to to go for it, and Dr. Cap and Dr. Biter are both willing to make it happen.
It was a wonderful experience. He actually was very supportive of our natural target to have a beautiful birth, and our original, through the pain, the original direction shifted a little bit, but Dr. Biter was there to support us and to our original target, and had a natural experience.
But I really enjoy being there. I wish that I had the birth center. I mean, if I could have had her at home in a pool, with warm water and everything, that would have been perfect. But he's as close as you're going to get to having the natural experience and having a midwife, with the ability to have to, have emergency C-section if need be.
He had some pretty serious complications afterward. He was air-vac down to Children's, and Dr. Biter was also there through all of that with us. He didn't just stop the care with me, he followed up with him and just kind of was an amazing person after that also.
Well, I think Dr. Biter really cares about his patients as people, and that's why he remembers everybody. He remembers Delilah's name and her delivery. He remembers taking my mom to the garden because she was upset, and talking to her in the garden. He asked me, "How's your mom doing?" So he just really cares a lot about circumstances with his patients, and I appreciate it a lot because you don't meet many doctors who are like that.
He just really makes it an experience. It's not just about, all right, let's get you in here, get the baby out and get out. It's a loving experience. She's my first child. He was very respectful of everything that I wanted the birth and the labor to be, even though it was really long, and there were times where I think other doctors might have wanted me to give up and either have an epidural or go to a C-section because it was getting to that point where it wasn't progressing.
When he was walking through the door, I actually had asked the nurse if I could have an epidural because I walked in and I was actually in transition at that point, and the nurse told me that I was 3 centimeters, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I can't do this, got to have the epidural." And the nurse called Dr. Biter instead of the anesthesiologist, and I saw him walk in, and I think I said something like, "You're not the anesthesiologist," and he told me, "You can do this. You're going to get through this. Go into the shower and take these waves one at a time, and just know once you get a wave, it's going to come back down." And that's what I did. I did that for about an hour and a half, and then it was time to start pushing.
We had a little bit of a complicated delivery, and one that would have normally ended up in a C-section, but fortunately with Dr. Biter it did not, and he had a few health problems afterward, and it was actually a lot better that we had a natural delivery instead of a C-section, so it went really well.
Didn't even know I had options until I met Dr. Biter, and I was like, "Well, I was thinking about this." He's like, "Oh, okay, no problem." I said, "I really don't want an IV." "Okay, no problem." I almost fell off the chair when he said that. I was thrilled.
He was the first doctor that didn't hurt me. during an exam. So that was really helpful.
I was just so relieved to see him that I think a lot of my fears went away. And to be honest, I was very scared of giving birth in a hospital because I didn't want to be forced to do things that didn't follow kind of a natural plan that I had in mind and that made me feel uncomfortable. And Dr. Biter, even from before delivery in my 3rd trimester when I was explaining my fears to him, you know, he was very good about making me know and feel that he was going to give me what I wanted, that he would be there, that I could count on him and trust him to deliver literally what I wanted and have the experience that I wanted. So yeah, as soon as I saw him, you instantly just feel better, like, oh, thank God you're here, and just kind of lights up the room for you when he comes in.
Dr. Biter actually had me switch. First we were pushing on my back, and then we switched to my left side, then we switched to my right side. At one point I was we were using counter pressure. I was holding a towel, one end of a towel, and the nurse was holding the other. And I remember I was tugging really hard, and finally he said to let go. And I let go, and the nurse said, "My gosh, she is really strong." And I laughed. I was like, really? I thought that was really funny because I had no idea, really. And Dr. Biter was great because he was using oils and helping massage and just ease the delivery. So I didn't have any tearing or anything like that. So I ended up in the delivery, when I delivered her, I was on my back, which I hadn't imagined, but it worked out for me.
He gave me a million different positions to get in to try. I was lucky to be able to not be hooked up to the machine except when they needed to monitor me from time to time. And he was there in the hospital the entire 15 hours that I was. He didn't leave it up to the nurses. He came and checked on me all the time and just really felt that he was such a part of the birth experience. He wasn't just there and kind of like, oh, you're just one of my 10 moms that are delivering today. I really felt that he was part of our family that day.
I've been to similar births with different doctors where they stand and just stare. They don't offer suggestions, or they might say, well, we need to get this baby out. In my professional opinion, I suggest we do an episiotomy and get this baby out. Well, that's weeks of healing for someone, and I'm thinking in my mind, what would Rob Biter do?
He is definitely one of a kind. I wish there were more doctors like him. And believe me, I know OBGYNs. I know a lot of them, and he's the only one that I know of who is the way he is. And we need just more like him.
I do feel like birth is a natural process and that he's bringing it back to that and bringing it back to about the women and how to not have all of this intervention when it's not necessary.
I feel that oftentimes many doctors are, they're on that clock, they're on the time clock. If you haven't delivered, if you're at 40 weeks of pregnancy, whether it's a first birth or a second birth, maybe even a third, there's such this push to have the baby. And with Dr. Biter, it's like somebody could be 41 weeks and not feeling anything coming close to having their baby yet, and baby's fine, mom's fine. Keep in touch, we'll see you in a couple days. And they probably go into labor 2 or 3 days later, and they go in and have a baby. And he's gentle with birth. He believes in it, and he respects his patients, and he goes in there and he just, you know, he's so non-invasive, where other births at times, in my experience, you see maybe a shift change and a different physician who's on call come in, looking at all the monitors, looking at the clock, looking at the paperwork, looking at their watch, folding the arms, and looking at the woman, pretty much looking at the monitor, we need to get things going along, we need to have a baby, you know, you're really not in labor yet, and tell somebody who's been having contracting, you know, since Thursday night, and it's now Friday evening, and they're told they're at 1 centimeter, and then to be told they're not really in labor, and that they need to be doing something to get them there. There is a real defining difference between certain mentalities in a birth room compared to Dr. Biter, where he just comes in gently, takes a look at the situation, sits and talks to his patient. Very rarely do you see him ever look at a clock. He's never looking at his watch. You know, he sits down and has a conversation with his patients.
Trusting him was of utter importance, because otherwise I don't know if I would have had the delivery I would have had. I probably would have ended up in a C-section like most women.
He definitely holds a special place in our heart for that. All right?
Absolutely, I'll definitely be there in the delivery room. Very anxious and excited.
Unless I kick him out.
That's true, she might kick me out.
Just kidding.
But we'll see. I'm definitely going to be there and to support her and you know, have this baby boy. I'm excited and nervous. You know, it's our first, and hopefully Cannon's healthy and happy, and you know, everything goes smoothly. That's all we can pray for. And I'm you know, very excited for us, and our families are ecstatic, and you know, that's kind of what it's about.
The biggest thing with the birth that I had was, you know, you hear so many horror stories about delivery, and I think as women we're scared. We're scared to give birth. We're scared to even be pregnant for the most part. And pregnancy for me was the best experience of my life. I would do it 1,000 times if I could. It was the most amazing experience, and I looked forward to childbirth. Most people look for the end goal of the baby, but for me I wanted to go through the experience of childbirth. And when I had the delivery that I imagined, the, you know, drug-free, somewhat, I mean, for the most part pain-free. There were moments that I was uncomfortable, but for the most part pain-free, and the doctor who gave me the confidence in myself, because I think that's a huge thing. Most women don't have confidence in themselves because the doctors are coming in and saying, well, you need an epidural, or you need Pitocin, or your body isn't working right. And I knew my body was working right, and so I was able to do everything on my own. And in doing that, I was empowered. I've never felt so empowered in my life. The minute after I delivered her, I told Dr. Biter, let's do this again, because I was ready. It was the most empowering experience of my life, and I felt like a woman for the first time in my life.
You're too pure for this wicked world. Your data's uncorrupted.